Hello, Brain Power TV family. This is Dr. Echo again, and here to welcome you to another episode of Brain Power TV. So today I have the amazing pleasure of introducing Lindsey Kealey, and she's amazing, as you're going to find out in a second. And she's the creator and founder of PAWsitive Choices, right?
Yes,
So,
yes.
yay, I got it. PAWsitive Choices.
Yes.
PAWsitive Choices. Yeah. So, anyways, Lindsey, I'd like you to tell us how you got to this amazing place where you're giving kids and parents these amazing resources of how to change the way and understand the way their brain works. So, how about it?
Oh, thank you. Well, it's an honor to be here, and I'm so excited. I just love sharing information with everyone. Teachers, kids, families, all about how they can just really be in awe of their amazing brain. And once they understand how powerful their brain is, that can really transform the way they look at the world. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's amazing, which is why I love all of your shows. It's all about that.
Yes. Yes, thank you for that. So,
Yeah.
how long have you been doing your program for?
So we're in our 8th year.
Oh, wow.
Yes,
Nice.
this all started when I was teaching kindergarten. And so I was previously a kindergarten teacher, and I love working with my students. I had my second year of teaching, I had a group of students who had a lot of needs socially and emotionally. And some of the behaviors look like, kids who are running out of the room, and, a couple who would throw chairs across the room. And so I could tell that I needed support to help them. My little toolbox, my little tricks weren't working. And so I just paused, and I decided I need to go back and look at the research so I could figure out how to support these students. Many were experiencing trauma, but what I found as I went through all this research is that there's practical strategies that all of us can use, and it helps absolutely everyone, regardless of the level of trauma you've experienced. This is just helpful for all humans to better engage with one another.
Yes. And is it true that you're not stuck with the brain you have?
That's it's wonderful news,
Okay.
isn't it? Isn't it the neuroplasticity, how your brain
Yes.
rewired and it gets stronger? So I started to make a curriculum to help my students in my class. And then there were other teachers who were saying, Lindsey, we need help too. We want, what are you doing? We want to do that as well in our classroom. So I ended up leaving the teaching profession at the elementary school level. And then I now am an instructor at Oregon State Cascades University, and I teach in the child development and family studies as well as the education department. So I get to use my curriculum with my college students, which is really fun now.
Right. Isn't that wonderful? So now you're teaching the teachers so they can go out and spread the good news. Yay!
Yes, that way in their first year of teaching, they'll have some tools. They get to learn from all of the things, all of my mistakes. They can get off on the right foot. Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. So without further ado, let's dive in. So can you give us first because this show is for both kids and parents, because it's important to talk to both. We can't get to the kids without the parents. And yes, the kids also need help too. So starting with the kids, can you give us some practical, first of all, what is your program about, and why is it important for us to learn about the brain?
Yes. Well, the curriculum I created is called PAWsitive Choices. And the reason why it's spelled with a PAW is because it has animal characters. And there's actually an element of American Sign Language. And so the characters use their paws to sign to one another. So that's why there's the paw in the title. But what I did was I wanted to create a curriculum that taught a lot of the social and emotional skills. And these are really important for children as they develop to be able to relate with one another positively, to be kind, like your sign says behind you, and also for them to start to understand their emotions and to build something called emotional regulation, which allows kids to become literate, emotionally know what they're feeling, and then find healthy ways to experience a sense of calm when they feel upset. So that was kind of the reason why I created this curriculum to help all people. And what I find is that the teachers and the parents, they'll say, oh my gosh, this is helping me too. It helps the adults.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
And we know if it helps the adults, then the kids are most likely going to be helped. And I love what you said, but I think it's also another thing your curriculum does is also gives kids the vocabulary and the words to express how they feel. Because that's a big thing
Definitely.
in what you teach too, is the words to use.
It's really really powerful when you think about how the brain works and
Mm-hmm.
what happens when you get upset, because sometimes when a child of any age feels upset, or we can call that in the research dysregulated, it can
Right.
feel overwhelming. And sometimes as adults, we're tempted to say, or our natural reaction is to say, just calm down, or you need to stop that, just calm down. But
Right.
once we start to think through the language we use, and when we let kids know what's happening in their brain, that is so powerful. So should I show my brain frame?
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay. So as I was trying to find a way to help kids understand what was happening in their bodies. So for instance, the students that I had in my classroom who would like run out of the room or throw things when they were upset, I decided to make something to help them know what was happening. So this is one of those picture frames, and inside I have a picture of the brain, and this has liquid and glitter. So what I tell kids, and I'll pretend like I'm speaking to my class or to students, I'd say, this glitter brain frame, this kind of shows what happens inside your brain when you get really upset. So when you're happy and calm, your brain kind of looks like this, but stop for a moment and think about something that makes you upset. Maybe you get upset when someone takes your toy out of your hands. Maybe you're frustrated when your parent tells you no more cookies, you're done, right? So when you think about that, just imagine how your body feels. Maybe your heart starts to race, your face might start to look like, your eyebrows point down. And what happens inside your brain is that it kind of gets mixed up. So what the language that we use is my brain feels mixed up. And so this glitter, I mean, it looks pretty and sparkly, but really what the glitter symbolizes is the chemicals and the neurotransmitters in our brain. And what I like to tell kids and families is that when you're upset and your brain feels mixed up, it's hard to think clearly and to make positive choices. And that's why sometimes when we're frustrated and we're mad, we'll say something unkind, or we'll act in a way that doesn't quite feel right. We're not acting like our normal selves. And that's because our brain felt mixed up, and it's okay. It just means we get to find a way to repair and to help our brain feel better.
Yes. Yay.
Yes.
I love that explanation. I mean, anybody would get that.
Yes. And it's funny. My husband will say, if, maybe we're having a disagreement, and maybe if he can sense that I'm upset, he'll say, is your brain mixed up? And I'll think, you're totally right. So we use the curriculum with each other as adults.
And that makes you stop for a second and say, and then that makes you less upset, right? Because then all the emotions dissipate and you're like, yeah, okay.
Yes. And sometimes he'll say, do you need to take a brain break, or would a brain break help you? And so brain break, that's the language that we use in the curriculum for something, a practical strategy that all humans can do to help their brain feel better. Because that's a big part of the curriculum, is having a specific strategy of what to do when you feel this way.
Yes, and those are so important for kids and for adults, but really, really important for kids. And can you give us some examples of what brain breaks are?
Yes. So a brain break is an opportunity to allow a child to let their glitter settle, or to let their brain come back to a state of regulation and calm. Because here's the thing, when we have a problem with one another, oftentimes a child's brain can get mixed up. And also you can think of this as like the adult's brain. Both brains can start to get mixed up. So before we try to solve the problem, here's the thing. If your brain feels mixed up, you're not in a problem-solving state of mind. Your brain can't do that very easily. And I love to show this with kids. This is a brain model. So we talk about the prefrontal cortex. So for the students or children who are watching, you can touch the front part of your head like this. And that's like where your prefrontal cortex is. That's the front part. And this is the part of your brain that helps you make positive choices. You can set goals. It's what tells you to stop. Let's think about what we're going to do. I'm not going to yell at my brother, or, take all the cookies off of the table after my mom said no, right? So this is the part of the brain that we want to be working, and we want to be working with. And when we get our brain mixed up, when we feel mad, this is, and I get to break the brain apart. This is the part of the brain. This is your limbic system. And that's a big part. That's a big part of your brain that's activated. That's being used when you have those strong feelings.
Right.
And the thing I like to tell kids and families and teachers is that your feelings are good. All of them. Even when you're mad, it's okay to feel mad. It's just, what can we do to help you have not only your limbic system, that inside part. So we want to say, welcome feelings, come on in, join the party. I'm here for you. But we also want our thoughts, our prefrontal cortex, to work with our limbic system, the feelings part. That way we can regulate our feelings. So the thing that I mentioned that you talked about is a brain break. And so for a brain break, this is the process of allowing your brain to feel settled. So this is a brain break tub. And essentially, thank you. So this is a calming toolkit. You can think about, I tell this to kids, if you think about when you go to build a house, you have your toolkit, you have like a hammer and a tape measure and all kinds of the drill. And that helps you build a house. And a brain break, this is like a toolkit that helps you build your brain and build your emotional skills. So inside the brain break kit, so this is something that anyone who's watching, you can make your own brain break kit. And you can look around your house and grab things that are there. You could go to a store and maybe like Dollar Tree and get some items, but you can do very specific things by using tools inside to help your brain feel better.
I love it. So what are things that parents can put inside, or kids? Do you think it would help for the kids to help pick out what their brain breaks would be?
Definitely. Because whenever we can have kids involved, they have ownership. And that's so powerful. So involving children in the process is huge. So what I have, this is a little checklist. So just like when you're going to build a house, you don't just start getting wood and hammering it together and putting it all over the place. That wouldn't build a well-constructed house. You need to have a game plan. So for a brain break, it's important to have a game plan. It's not just a box of toys. You want to know what to do when you're there using it. So I have a little checklist, and this is something I'm going to share with you, a link. So it'll be a free download for anyone watching.
Oh, wonderful.
So essentially, here's kind of how it goes. Can you see that okay?
Yes.
Okay. So you start off by setting a timer. So you're there. That way you're not there all day long, right? Just you want it to be.
It's a break.
Yeah, just a little break. So you set a timer. So I'll pause. Should I pause and go through the steps?
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
Would that be helpful? Okay. So you're going to set a timer. And when you're looking around your house, you might have, so I'm going to look at my brain break kit. You might have a sand timer. So you could flip a sand timer, or these are also really helpful. One of these timers where you can decide how long you want your break to be. If you're really upset, maybe you're going to do it for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, or maybe you need 15, right? So this kind of helps you. As a parent, you could also say, how about 5? Or you could hand them the timer. So that's step 1. Step 1 is the timer. And if you go, when you go to your dentist office, sometimes they'll have these little sand timer ones. And you could use that. So then step number 2 is to breathe. That's so important for your brain. Very important. Yes. So in the next step is to breathe. So these are all kinds of calming breaths, different ideas of ways.
Volcano breath.
Volcano breath. Yeah, we could do a couple of those. So this is the volcano breath. And it's actually, for adults, it's good too. Whenever I breathe with a child, because I do family coaching, so I'll go into houses and help. And whenever I do that, I actually like doing it too. Volcano is my favorite. So should we do it together?
Yes, sure.
Okay, so you go like this. You put your hands kind of by your heart with your arms out. And then when you breathe in, your hands go up. And then you blow out. And this is like your lava going down.
Ah, okay. I like it.
That's a volcano breath. Okay. Another favorite breath is the flower candle breath. Okay. And this is a fake flower and a fake candle. And if you don't, so you could get these like at the Dollar Tree. And if you don't have these on hand, or you don't want to go buy some, you could just take one hand like this, and you're going to pretend that's a flower. Right. And then in your other hand, you're going to pretend you're holding a candle, like a birthday candle or a candle like this.
Okay.
So if you're watching this now, stop for a moment and think about what kind of flower you want yours to be. Is it a red flower, a sunflower? Okay, so have that in your mind. Now think about, what color candle do you want? What color is your candle you're visualizing?
Okay.
Mine is white.
Okay.
So now breathe in the flower and blow out the candle. Do another one. Breathe in the flower. It smells so sweet and wonderful. Blow out the candle. And that's the flower candle breath.
Hey, I love it. So easy, but so practical. Yeah. That definitely will stop you in your tracks from your
It will. I mean, I feel better after doing it myself. So yeah, step number 2 is to breathe. And then the next step, so I'll go back to my checklist, like our blueprints for building the house, is to think, how do you feel? Because that's the part we want kids to start to learn how they feel. And in order to do that, sometimes you might just know, I'm really frustrated. For other times when you're not sure how you feel, there's a little emotion chart. So this has different examples of pictures. And here's something I love to have in my brain break kit is a mirror. So if a child isn't sure how they feel, you can go like this. You can say, okay, now look at all of these faces and look at yourself. Which one, what does your face look like? Okay. Your eyebrows, if your eyebrow, parents, you can tell them, it looks like your eyebrows are tilted down. And look at this, Bear kind of has his eyebrows tilted like that as well. Do you think you feel like that? Do you think you feel mad or angry? And then the child can say, oh yeah, I think I do. Or maybe they'll say, I'm not angry. I'm more scared. And that's so helpful for a parent or a family member to know, oh, my child's not mad. They're scared. And then you can say, what are you scared about? Or what are you worried about? So it's opening the conversation.
Exactly. And so you can actually have an actual conversation and not just a surface level. Oh, I'm okay. Nothing's wrong.
Exactly. So when we start to get kids to think about, so, if you say, how are you feeling? And they say, fine. Okay. And sometimes as adults, we think, oh, they're just intentionally not answering us, but it could be that they're not sure. They need to build that emotional literacy. So this is great. You could also look at online, there's like emotion charts too, so for older kids, that's something, but you're really getting that conversation going about how you're feeling. Should I go on to the next step?
Yes.
Okay. The next step is to pick a healthy choice or to pick an activity. So this might be something in your brain break tub, like a calming tool. I have a poster here that says, in my little chart, this says healthy choices. So these are all kinds of activities that make you feel better. Using a calming tool like reading a book or coloring, those are great things. But
I like the first one, sleeping.
Sleep, yeah, I'm taking a nap. Bye. Right. Or another one, drink water. Go get it. Maybe a glass of water will make you feel better. Exercise, that's huge. These are fun these are dice. They have these at Target. Target's one of my favorite places. I love to go to Target in the dollar section. And these are dice that you can roll, and there's different movements on it. So like you roll it and it's like jumping jacks. You see, that's a fun way.
I'm gonna go next time. Tomorrow I'm going.
Yes, I know, right? The dollar, any excuse to go to Target. But you could also have kids, they can, like you said, it's really important to have kids be a part of that process. So, they could color, drawing's really therapeutic. They could read a book together. There's also, Play-Doh. So Play-Doh is a great sensory tool. They can roll it up, make something out of it. And then all kinds of things. Also, I love silly putty, even as an adult. I don't know about you, but I love to hold that sensory piece.
Yes, it does help. It does help relieve tension for sure.
Definitely. And then when the timer's up, like when your brain break is over, then you can come back. Your brain might be feeling better. Sometimes 5 minutes doesn't make your brain feel better. The brain, when it's dysregulated, it can take 2 hours for all the glitter to settle. But then you can go back and then try to problem solve or go back to what you were doing. Maybe you were playing with your brother or sister, or you were, working on your algebra homework at the kitchen table, but you got upset and now your brain feels better. So you can go back and do your homework. So that's one of the things. I also like to have a little brain frame in there.
I love it. So wonderful. Can you recap the steps quickly so parents can get it? So it's the first one is
Yes, the first one is, okay, here we go.
set a timer.
Set a timer,
Yes,
take
breathe.
deep breaths. How do you feel?
Yes.
Pick a
Okay,
healthy
healthy
choice like
choice.
Play-Doh or drawing.
Mm-hmm.
Think about how do you feel? Because
Yes.
sometimes I'll be coaching a family and the child will say, my brain still feels mixed up. So they go back and they take 3 more minutes. So maybe you need a little
Right.
bit longer. And then finally, you go back to what you were doing. Or
Yes.
sometimes you problem solve. And that's when that's kind of like a discipline moment where, the original meaning of discipline
Right.
means to teach, not to punish, right? So a lot of us think
Right.
discipline means punish or give a consequence, but we really want to teach kids so they can learn from their mistakes. But
Yes.
before we discipline or before we teach them, they have to be ready to learn. And we have to be ready to teach, because if our brain's mixed up, we're not going to be effective
Teach
teachers
them
or
either.
effective disciplinarians. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, this is so good. And I was just sitting here thinking, so teachers who have a classroom full of 30 kids, how do they implement this?
That is a great question. Now, for instance, the year that I had with quite a few students who needed breathing volcano breaths all day long, um, I had 7 of these. So I just had a bunch of these on the back table. This is the gesture. It's based in American Sign Language. So this is brain break. So a child would say, so you have your 2 hands by your brain, and then you kind of go like this. And that's
Okay.
almost like showing your brain is mixed up a little bit. So you
Okay.
go brain break. And then this is like you're shutting it down. You're taking a moment. So I would
Okay.
have kids kind of gesture. They go brain break. Can I have a brain break? And then I would say, yes, go for it. So they would go and they would take a few minutes. Sometimes I'd have 4 or 5 kids who were all taking a brain break. And then 20 of us were still at the carpet teaching math. I was teaching them math, and that just worked out for us, because they were ready to learn once they came back.
Exactly. And did you find that did they keep needing breaks, or that the fact that you let them have a break helped them focus better?
It helped them focus better. So if I had just said sit crisscross, if I had told them, no, you have to listen, then it would have been 3 hours of difficulty with, attention and really focusing. But if I let them go take a break, then it's so much better. There's also something to keep in mind that I talk to teachers about, and that's neural fatigue. So when the brain starts to get distracted or when it's no longer engaged, we have to re-engage kids. And that could even just be doing a volcano breath, doing some stretching. All these things help the brain re-engage. And so my brother is a first grade teacher. And last year, due to COVID, I went in to help him set up his classroom. And I said, okay, we're going to get this brain break tub. And he said, Lindsey, I can't do that in my class. And I'm like, why? He said, because of COVID, they can't share materials.
Right.
So because of that, because you had asked how that works with a group, with a classroom, we ended up making mini brain break kits. So kids all had their own. So they would put it in their desk. Yes. And then, as a class, like while the teacher's talking, while he was teaching a math lesson, if a child needed a break, like a little squish toy, they could just sit there and be squishing this, or they could do their Play-Doh. So I think, we can give every single child this tool. And I know a lot of families who, when they go in the car, if they have siblings who will maybe get in arguments or have a hard time, they just bring their little brain break kit with them. They have the house one and the car one.
I love it. It's so simple. It's so, oh my gosh, parents listening, please let your kids take a break, and you take one too.
Yes,
Everybody
exactly.
take a break. Because if not, we're going to be fighting for hours. And I hear it all the time in my office. We can't get through homework. I'm like, just take 2 minutes. There's so many studies. Even a minute's break will reset the brain and the kid will be able to focus.
Totally. And it's fun to do it with your child. So, even if you're doing that where you roll the dice for the activities, let's do 5 of these. You roll, okay, we're doing push-ups now. And I mean, this is kind of a fun way to get your body moving.
Yeah. And there's lots of research that shows that if a child has been sitting, it's best to give them something active to do. Like they don't have to stand on their heads, but if
Yeah.
they just jumped up and down in place, something,
Yes.
go for a walk. It definitely
That's so
increases the oxygen to the brain, and the brain desperately needs oxygen, and then it helps to settle things down, and then you both of you come back. I know. I think that's the
so
hardest
sweet.
part, is letting go of the, you have to sit here and you have to do this now.
Yes, because in the long run, they're going to be so much more efficient if you let them move their body. I've recently been doing research on the effects of grounding or earthing. So if you, going outside and taking your shoes off and putting your feet in the dirt or grass, and you're, moving your body, that's a great way to help re-engage the brain by putting your feet on the ground.
Yes, I love it. So wonderful. And I love all your nifty, oh my gosh. So please tell parents how they can find out more about your coaching, your programs, and all of this good stuff.
Yes, of course. So they can go to PAWsitiveChoices.com. Let's see, my camera's, I think, getting back into focus here. But they can go to PAWsitiveChoices.com, and it's spelt with a PAW. And then that will allow them to kind of see everything that we have going on, all the resources. Yes, and hopefully my camera will come back to being refocused.
That's okay. Technology, things happen.
Oh, technology. You're so right.
We can still hear your lovely voice, so don't worry.
Oh, good. I think I might be able to switch this here.
Yeah.
Okay, we're back.
Oh, great. That's wonderful. Yeah. So, wow, that's so great. So, do you work with parents all over the country, or is just in where you live?
Yes. So I live in Oregon, but ever since COVID, a lot of things have been shut down, I now do coaching over Zoom. So I work with people all over the world that, connect with me over Zoom. Yeah.
Yay. That's so wonderful. Wow. So good. What's your last parting shot for parents and for kids? What's the last thing you want to tell them? Your one tip.
The one tip I would say is that you can honor your brain. You can stop and you can do a little check-in with yourself. So as soon as you start to feel like something's off, you can think, does my brain feel mixed up? And if you think it does, you can stop and just take a deep breath. We talked about the flower candle, the volcano. You could also do, this is called the butterfly breath, where you put your hands over by your shoulders and you just tap them. So I think breathe. My final parting note is to just breathe and to give yourself that permission.
Yes.
That's really powerful to do that. And it will help your brain. Your brain will thank you.
Yes. And when you love your brain, you love your life, because your brain will take care of you, right?
Yes. Oh, that's a great, I love how you worded that. Such a great way to put it.
Yes. So thank you so much, Lindsey, for taking time. And I hope parents and kids watching, you had as much fun as I did. And look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thank you again, Lindsey.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.